The NWSL championship is here, and I definitely think one of these teams has an advantage going into a shot at their second title. Welcome to this week's edition of The Late Sub. I am your host, Claire Watkins. It is Tuesday, November 18th. So if there are any championship updates from now, don't blow me up. We're recording on Tuesday to get ready for a big championship week. We're going to take a second to talk about the semifinals, some of the stuff that maybe I wasn't quite right on, some of the stuff that surprised me. And we're going to do a preview of the NWSL championship between two very, very good, ambitious clubs in the Washington Spirit and Gotham FC. And then we're going to have a really interesting conversation with Bay FC defender Abby Dahlkemper about some of the things that players think about when they're going into an off season, including family planning, which has been an increasing option for NWSL players throughout the last couple of years, especially after the ratification of the league's CBA. Really interesting episode this week. I hope you guys all enjoy. So last week, talking about the NWSL postseason, I got to do a little bit of a victory lap and talk about the things I got right and a few things that I got wrong. This week is going to be a little bit more humbling for me. Last week's semifinals results really flipped my expectations. I feel like there were like notes of things maybe that I predicted in there, but I did not quite get the results right. In not a bad way. I'm very excited for this final matchup. Washington went ahead and dominated Portland. Rest in peace to my Portland Dark Horse dreams. 2-0 from the very first whistle to the very last. It was not close. It was the best soccer game Washington has played all year, and they completely dominated the Thorns from beginning to end. And then we saw Gotham execute an exquisite smash and grab to send Orlando home 1-0 on a free kick late in the game. They kind of overcame their attacking struggles throughout that match and kind of showed what kind of like postseason gamers they are. They're building serious momentum with sort of their energy in the locker room, energy with the way they're approaching games, even if things aren't firing on all cylinders all the time. So let's talk about, we're going to kind of just preview this championship. We're going to talk about the semifinals throughout, kind of in analyzing each of these teams, because this is a really exciting pair. They know each other really well. They've played the most times in NWSL history. That's what Opta tells all of us this week, which is wild to think about. They're two of these founding clubs in the NWSL, and they've played each other many, many times. They've got a nice close proximity to one another. If you go back to our rivalry episode earlier this season, I said I love this rivalry. I think sometimes it gets accusations of being fake. I think it's becoming increasingly real. You saw the Spirit knock Gotham out of the playoffs last year, and now they're playing for all the marbles. One of these teams is going to be sorely disappointed, while the other is going to be very, very happy. It's the 2021 champs versus the 2023 champs. It's just, this feels good. It feels organic in its own way. It feels like we've seen those performances throughout this postseason to get there that deserve this spot. Again, there's sort of two different dynamics maybe with how Washington came out of their semifinal and how Gotham came out of their semifinal, but equally ready for this moment. This is experienced. These are experienced teams. They're ready for a weekend like this. And then there are some of these individual storylines, right, that are really nice. And I know everyone going to the Bay Area this week is very excited to dig into. You have Rose Lavelle and Emily Sonnet, both playing for the club that beat them in the final in 2023, against the club that they both have strong ties to in their past. Obviously, Sonnet won a championship with Washington in 2021. Lavelle played for the Spirit for a number of years during kind of their dark period and did not get to experience that resurgence of relevancy that we've seen from the Spirit in the last couple of years. Lavelle is still fighting for her first NWSL championship after being a formative player in this league. We're seeing Trinity Rodman slowly make her return. She got some minutes in her semifinal. No matter what, that's a huge star to be playing in a game like this, especially with all the conversations swirling about what she's going to do after this game is played. You've got Jaden Shaw and Give Monday on either side, equally on a tear. They've both scored in each postseason game for their clubs. They're going to be looking for that kind of postseason hat trick, I'm sure, on Saturday. Really cool attacking pieces from both sides. You've got England internationals on both sides of this game. You got Jess Carter for Gotham and you've got Esme Morgan for Washington. They both get a chance to cap off their Euros winning year with an NWSL championship. There's a lot going on here. You could write like a feature on every single player on this team. And there's an interesting story here. And these are interesting squads. These rosters are ambitious. You're seeing teams that are willing to kind of spend under the cap in whatever way they possibly can to bring in the right talent. These are deep teams. These are teams with players that we know. And also we're seeing players emerge that are going to have a huge impact on this game. So the narratives abound. It's really neat. I love it. I think there were a lot of different combinations of this game, looking at those 4 semifinalists that I think would have been fun and good to watch. But this is definitely one that I think everyone is very, very excited for. And these semifinals, the way that these teams got here, I do think are informative on how we're going to see these teams play this weekend and help make some predictions. So I'm going to stay brave. I got to stay brave, even though I kind of whiffed it last week. I'm going to say, getting right down to it, the Spirit should win the championship game this year. The Spirit should win their second star based on what we've seen, even just in this very small sample size of the NWSL postseason. It just wasn't even close this past week. The way that Washington came out, they had, Portland's back line. They were all over them from the very, very beginning. It almost felt like it could have been more of a beatdown in terms of the deficit that Portland did or did not find themselves in at the beginning of the game or at halftime or later in the match. Even Sam Coffey, who, as we know, is one of my, best 11, I think one of the best midfielders in the league this year, had to give her props after the game was over. Just say basically the Spirit were the better team. They have the pieces to go on to win a championship. And we're seeing kind of why. Not just, you go, oh, they had the energy, they had the overlapping runs, they were able to overload, all of which was true. They forced Portland into a lot of indecision. They kind of took them off their game. It seemed like their game plan was very clear, and they did a good job of just overwhelming what the Thorns were trying to do. But you're starting to see those individual pieces as well. The tandem, I already mentioned Gift Monday and how well she's been playing, but that tandem of Rose Kawasi and Gift Monday has been remarkably productive for Washington. They link up for the game's first goal. Those two are going to menace Gotham's back line in this championship game coming up. And then, in the second half, you see the benefits of a healthy Corey Bethune, which is a huge change from last year. I said this before. It's very difficult not to compare this Washington team to last year's Washington team that came right to the very end and fell just short. A healthy Corey Bethune is a huge difference maker from last year to this year. Gift Monday's presence is a huge difference from last year to this year. And I think the fact that they are working Rodman in rather than running her into the ground is another really big difference between last year and this year. And I'll say it, they don't need impactful minutes from Rodman, I think, to finish this out. I think that what we saw was a team that's ready to do this with the pieces that they have. And you're also just seeing, again, the benefits of that sort of ambitious roster building and who they have on the pitch. However, Gotham's going to make it really, really hard. I'm team Washington here in terms of who I think should win. Gotham's going to make it very difficult. And we've seen that over the course of the last 2 games and see if they have one more upset in them. It's not going to be exactly the Louisville playbook for Gotham, but you do sort of see the script play out against Washington. That idea as if you could just hold on, if you can be bruisers in the midfield. Jalen Howell versus Hal Hirschfeld is going to be a heavyweight battle that probably goes all the way back to the ACC. And you got to just make things hard for them, force them out of high quality chances with the understanding that they're going to probably run the wings on you. And I'll talk about that in a second, but to force them into lower quality shots at the end of the attack that you already know they're going to generate. Get stuck in, bruise through the core of the middle third, go through the middle of the pitch, and see what you can take on the other end. And it can be done. We saw that with Louisville taking Washington all the way to penalties in their quarterfinal. It almost felt like there was that fear of this happening when Washington was playing Portland before they finally got that breakthrough of like, yes, you're running them into the ground. You're running them. Can you get the goal that you need? And I think, again, that even dates back to the final last year where it felt like at many times Washington was the better team and Orlando was just holding on, but Washington could not make them pay. Gotham can do this really well. They showed 2 different types of game plans. I think that this Orlando game was very different than what we saw against Kansas City. But Orlando probably for most of it felt like maybe the more comfortable side. Shout out to Orlando. That was a very fun squad this year. They should be very proud of themselves. But Gotham did a good job of kind of handling the fact that Orlando wanted to hold the ball a little bit more. They were more comfortable with a different line of contention. They did a good job of limiting Orlando's chances. And also Orlando kind of had a couple that they maybe would want back. And while Shaw is right, Jaden Shaw has been right. I think her big quote about the team not being underdogs has kind of been the quote of the postseason for them. Gotham isn't an underdog. But you can't also say that they played to their full potential last weekend. And I don't think it makes sense to just say, oh, yes, this group of these like blue chip talents are suddenly going to come together and play this perfect style of possessive football. No, I think it's going to be a lot of counter ball. I think it's going to be a lot of off ball, turn things around. They got very little attack last week out of those talents like Lavelle, Astaire, Purse, even Shaw before that free kick. They had that one shining moment standing over the dead ball and they did a good job. Again, that's like the getting stuck in of it is, you go in, you draw the foul, you get into these nice dead ball situations in dangerous areas and you see what could happen. I don't think that Gotham is suddenly going to start playing up to that potential of every single player on their roster. They're not going to do that in 1 week. It's just not realistic. So I think what we're going to see is closer to that Gotham side that did win in the quarterfinal and did win in the semifinal. And it's a little bit more of a reactive side than a proactive side. And that's fine. I mean, that's a mentality that's going to be a great approach to single elimination knockout games. It's very impressive. And we've seen teams take this all the way to the championship in the past. And they do have that individual link-up talent of all those attacking players that I mentioned before. And we have seen, Sonnet, Howell, and Jess Carter play really, really well so far this postseason. They're going to play keep away as long as possible. They themselves are probably going to try to limit, again, those dangerous chances from the Spirit. They're probably going to seed the wings. And not for nothing, manager Juan Carlos Amoros is underrated at mid-game changes, something that not every NWSL manager excels at. But if I were Gotham, that's like my pitch for Gotham, is that I think they can do this if they stay really organized and try to make this game a little bit less dynamic than perhaps Washington would want. If I were Gotham, where I'd be worried is losing the game on the wings for sure. Kawasi has been on fire in the postseason, building from an incredibly impressive playoff run in 2024. She was so good in that championship game, despite them not getting a breakthrough. Lily Reel had to leave Gotham's semifinal with a knock. If there's anything there that limits Gotham's OBs, I think the Spirit are going to have their way up and down the flank. I think they're going to cede a lot of space. They're going to give up a lot of dangerous runs, and that they're going to move fast, and they're going to have to scramble. And Carter and Sonnet are not the fastest players in the world, as I keep saying. But I think if they understand that and they're able to, again, like I said, if you have to cede space, if you're basically conceding the fact that you are not as good up and down the wings as perhaps the other team is, you say, okay, but turn that into good shots. Turn that into something that's going to hurt us. And that's the game that Gotham's going to have to be playing. So if you're a Gotham fan, your heart's going to be beaten. It's going to be some like cardiac football for sure. And while Washington has their own, injury troubles, Tara McKeown was, it seemed, running on sheer force of will in their semifinal. They'll probably still be without Gabby Carl. It seems like she has a little bit of a longer term thing. But yeah, if I were the Spirits, I'd hit the wings really hard. I'd force Gotham to stay narrow. Again, if you can hold on to the ball and deny them those chances through the spine of the middle third, if you cannot play the foul game, don't let it get chippy. Don't let the ball stop. Don't let the ref get too involved. I think this should be Washington's game to win. So I think it's going to be great. I think that those two things in terms of style and identity make for a great championship game. It's going to be physical, probably, as many championship games are. It's going to probably widen. It's going to stretch. It's going to get wide. You can't help it. You're excited. You're amped. You've got all of that adrenaline. I think the first 30 minutes are going to be wild, and it's just going to see if anyone can score. But there's a lot of experience. Some of the most electric stars of the season are going to be playing. Two ambitious clubs who deserve to be there. I can't wait. I'll see everybody on the flip side. And now something a little different, as actually we kind of look towards the off season and what's going to be an off season of change for the NWSL. And I think we're going to talk to Bay FC defender Abby Dahlkemper about kind of what it means to be a player who's looking at a very, very different year in 2026 than perhaps she had in 2025. Some of those changing minds and changing kind of environments in the NWSL for a player who is family planning, who is looking towards the future in that way. It was a really, really good conversation, as we're reminded that we're going to have a lot of star talent who maybe stepped away this year to make some family decisions, who might be coming back in 2026, and what that means at the individual level, the club level, and for the league at large. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope everyone else does too. So we are so happy today to get a chance to speak with World Cup champion with the US Women's National Team and Bay FC defender, Abby Dahlkemper. Abby, how's it going?
Hi, yeah, it's going well. Thank you for having me. It's just been kind of a whirlwind these past 6 months, but all for such an amazing part of my life, and it's just been really exciting, and I've just been very grateful.
Yes, exactly. That's, as you were, kind of alluding to, you joined Bay FC in August of last year, part of that great run to the playoffs, but this year has looked a little different for you. You announced your pregnancy in September. Huge congratulations. Wonderful, wonderful news. But obviously a very different season that had you a little bit away from the pitch. How much did you get a chance through this whole process, perhaps to stay in touch with the team and what they were doing this fall?
Yeah, definitely was hard to kind of, start the first half of the year off and be on the field and just be able to kind of like have a say and control over, what I was doing on the field. But I think just taking on a new role off the field and being able to support my teammates in, whatever way I could. It was definitely hard to not be, physically on the field, but just proud of the team for, competing. And we had a tough year, which I think was just, hard for everyone. But being able to kind of help in a leadership way and support my teammates and be kind of there around the group and in whatever way I can was just important for me to, just help the team and continue to kind of lead and, help in any way I could.
Absolutely. What does that look like for you? I think for everyone, it's a little bit different. Are you a big like texter of teammates? Are you a big like, you like to be there when they're working through stuff, or just even just being in the stands and supporting? What does that look like for you when you're not able to be on the pitch?
Yeah, I think I'm a person who really likes to just like be around the team. And I think, reading how people are doing and kind of getting to really know my teammates and, what makes them kind of click and how I can bring the best out of people. So I'm like a people person. So I think just being around the group, connecting with people, talking about, how they're feeling, what they're going through, how I can help, I think was just really important. So just communicating and trying to be myself, but also connect with my teammates on kind of an individual level was something that I focused on. And kind of getting like a read of how the team and the group is doing as a whole as well, I think was important. And, you're going to have highs and lows throughout the season, and you can't get too high and you can't get too low, and you just got to, kind of grind through it. And it's a long season and it's hard and it's competitive, but, not taking any of the time for granted, I think was important. And just taking advantage of kind of like still having a seat at the table, but maybe a different seat and what that may look like.
Absolutely. And kind of like you mentioned, there's a lot of change coming for the club this off season. There's, big transformative period with wanting to take steps forward after probably building on still sort of that great run in 2024. What is your assessment of where Bay FC is right now? You mentioned tough probably to watch teammates kind of, get through this last part of the regular season, but is there a sense at least of renewed excitement for what's coming next with so much change perhaps incoming?
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement for the team, and I think a lot to look forward to. I think, being able to lay kind of a ground, like a foundation, a blueprint of, what we want to be as an organization on and off the field, and striving to, always break barriers and with this training facility, push the standards for women's soccer on and off the field, I think is incredible. And performance wise and result wise, we may have fallen short this year, but I think setting a new records our first year in the league was something incredible, and setting standards is something that this club pushes to do. And it's something I am really proud to be a part of, this club. And so I think there should be a lot of excitement for next year and the years ahead for this club. And the sky's the limit kind of for us. And I think also it helps to have like some amazing support and fan base, and Bay Area loves women's sports. You can see the support we get, but also from kind of the Valkyries doing amazing this year as well. Having them, come into town and do what we did and made playoffs and set records in that way. So, I think it's just should be excitement and like kind of endless possibilities.
Absolutely. And obviously everyone's going to get to see that next weekend with championship weekend as well. Going to see the Bay show out for women's sports. Speaking of transformative period for the club, talk about transformative period for your life. You're not the only Bay FC player taking time to start a family. And it does feel from the outside like this is increasingly a truly viable option for players league wide in a way maybe it didn't always feel like it was in the past. From your perspective, as someone who's been in the league for a number of years, does it seem like these club environments are more supportive as players begin to start families while they're playing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, just me not being the only one, especially like I'll speak from personal experience, like from our club and Bay FC and the partnership we have with Sutter Health. I mean, I cannot say enough good things about the support I've been given through Sutter Health and, just in terms of pregnancy and nutrition and the doctors and, on and off the field support. Being able to know that, certain things are going to be safe to do on and off the field and making kind of my return to play a little more seamless and easy to, transition post pregnancy and coming back for that. So I think having access as a club at Bay FC for Sutter Health and having, all the support that we may need has just been amazing. And I think it's like no surprise that you're seeing more athletes in our league just being able to feel comfortable, getting pregnant and going through, that journey while still playing. And I think that that's so important and really cool to kind of have that be possible. And it's nice to have, obviously, our club with Sutter Health be so supportive, but also like the NWSL, the league, be so supportive and all the different clubs, supporting the moms to be or the moms that are already in the league that kind of have paved the way as well.
Absolutely. I mean, with that cultural shift comes resources, right? Specifically speaking to Sutter Health and how they support players in a more holistic way. Is it nice to feel seen both as, someone who's about to become a mom for the first time, but also as an athlete where this is tuned to both your professional and your personal needs in that sort of seamless way?
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. I mean, Sutter Health has provided like any needs I could imagine. I think I spoke about, the nutrition, the, psychology, the, orthopedics, maternity health, the fetal medicine help, all of that. And, I think pregnancy, obviously you kind of have to go through it to learn everything. So you learn a lot. And I think that's amazing. And I think Sutter Health, gives you the tools to learn how to be an athlete and a mom and kind of like enter this new phase of your life while also, holding on to kind of the athlete card that you've known your whole life and have been familiar with. So yeah, it's just been like incredibly helpful. And I truly feel so grateful to have like Sutter Health along this journey with me to be able to, learn and experience and be given all this access while also, remaining a professional soccer player. And, I'm still in the gym and the weights with all my teammates. And I might not be, on the field performing with them, but being able to just at least like run on the sidelines while they're practicing and or bike, and watch them practice just means a lot. And yeah, it just is really cool that I'm able to kind of balance this motherhood and pregnancy and also being an athlete.
Was there any part, or is there any part of this particular part of the process that has surprised you in that way? I mean, it seems like the better care you get leading up to having your baby and then what that means for your return to play after. Was there any prep work where you're like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this, or this really surprises me in terms of the expertise that you've gotten?
Yeah, I think, the support of Sutter Health and, the doctors and, all of their knowledge through kind of like pregnancy and what's okay to do. And, maybe in the beginning I was scared to like even lift weights and continue, doing cardio, but it's like truly amazing what you're able to still do while pregnant. I think the only concern would be like contact as you get a little bit further along. So that would be kind of removing yourself from certain parts of practice that, may require contact, but just through like the expertise of the doctors and their knowledge and being able to be like, no, it's okay to still, lift your weights and maintain as much like muscle as possible, and your cardio and being able to keep that up is cool. So just, I mean, it makes you feel good, obviously, continuing to work out and push yourself physically as well, while still, being pregnant and growing a human.
Absolutely. In addition to those resources, which, as we say, BFC has done a wonderful job with, and we certainly hope that everyone league-wide does as well. But are there any particular moms in women's soccer or women's sports where you've seen them go through this process and go, I can do this, and I'm excited to see this just from that example?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously being teammates with Alex Morgan for a while at San Diego and with the national team, I think, and seeing, her be a mom to Charlie and return after, Charlie was born, and being able to still crush it. And I think, even texting, Lynn Biondolo and Mal Swanson and Sophia Wilson. And I think just like the support and seeing them be able to, go through their own journeys and with the, ambition to come back and play after, and to be able to know that that's, possible, more than possible to do, and to come back and, not skip a beat, I think has been really helpful and something that's really cool. I mean, I think even, think about Sarah Gordon, having her son so early and, still being able to like play and be amazing, an amazing mom and player. But yeah, it's just, it's really cool to kind of see this, emergence of like all these moms coming into the league or into fruition and being in the league and stuff. So yeah, I think it's been really helpful, and it's awesome to kind of have that support and that support system.
Yeah. And you've been a player in the NWSL and when you were the U.S. Women's National Team, where there was also this push just to make sure that there was an understanding of the needs of mothers sort of in each individual CBA, right? Of just making sure that those resources are there. Does it feel nice? I mean, we all love when clubs put together really good systems the way Bay FC has, but how important is it also just to make sure that there are those basic guidelines so that anybody feels like they can do this regardless of their club situation?
Yeah, I think it's super important. And I think that, as female athletes, like you shouldn't have to choose one or the other. I think just throughout the years, creating, space for female athletes to become mothers, but also to stay, professional athletes is incredible. So I'm really proud to be a part of kind of this time where, with the women's national team and the NWSL, just being able to expand, our rights and as far as being, protected throughout pregnancy and still being paid and being supported. And I mean, obviously, specifically the Bay and Sutter Health, like being awesome throughout my pregnancy and post. And I know I'll have the support I'll need to be able to come back on the field, stronger and better than ever. And have like a little son, on the sidelines cheering for his mom. So yeah, it means a lot. And I think it's just really cool, and just proud to be a part of this time where the change is so significant for the best and support for moms.
Yeah, absolutely. So exciting times ahead, very exciting times ahead. So I'm going to ask you, this is last question, sort of twofold. It's going to be one more Bay FC focused and one just focused on you. I ask everybody this. This could be on the pitch, off the pitch, but let's start just sort of Bay FC focused. When you envision 2026 for Bay FC and for sort of this return and sort of this transformative part of the club's history, what would be sort of the perfect 2026 in your opinion for Bay FC, other than obviously winning as much as possible? But what does that look like for the club, do you think?
Yeah, I think kind of entering this new phase of, competing and pushing limits. And I think being able to kind of like set this standard of what Bay FC is going to be about for, years to come. And I think obviously winning is really important. And
Yes.
I think it's something that we want to be about. And, success on and off the field as a club is really important. And obviously to continue to push boundaries and standards and not only women's soccer, but I think just like this female athlete space, which you're seeing with, this facility with Treasure Island and, all the support we're getting. So I think it's just really exciting to be a part of BAFC at this time and to kind of look into the future. And I think 2026 is going to be amazing for this club. And it's going to be exciting. So stay with
Absolutely.
us.
And then last one, just more focused on you. You're going to have a lot going on in 2026, but what does that perfect year look like for Abby Dahlkemper personally?
Perfect year. First off, I think just focusing on a healthy baby, I think is first and foremost, like the most important for me, and whatever I have control over, I'm controlling that. And with the support of, the club and Sutter Health, I think, I have like everything I would need. And so I think just having a healthy baby and making sure that I'm healthy. And I think just, I'm eager and excited to get back on the field with the team. I think that would be like the most ideal 2026 is to have a healthy baby boy and being able to step back on the field with my team and be out there with them and compete and represent this club and also represent, being a mom and an athlete as well. And I think that's important and something that is really exciting because I think obviously I just want to make my husband and son proud and be able to, kind of be able to make the goal of being a mom and a professional athlete happen at the same time, which would truly be everything to me. So I think that would be like my ideal next year. And obviously giving myself grace and time and I know I'll be supported. So just being patient with myself, but just knowing that I'm more than capable of doing that.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds like the perfect year to me. Abby, congratulations once again. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
The Late Sub is part of the Just Women Sports Network. This show is written by Claire Watkins and produced and edited by Parker Fenton. To get more of your favorite women's sports content, subscribe to the Just Women Sports newsletter and follow Just Women Sports across all your favorite channels.